Alright, so let's try this out for the first time. We're going to do a quick overview of the game, and then I'm going to do my more in-depth review. That's probably going to be 30 minutes from where I go deep into every choice and every opinion that I've made on this game so far. So, first we're going to start with, is it worth $60? No. Is it worth playing? Yes. I would say a more reasonable price would be about $40 for what the game has to offer. Then there's also that the price feels like a AAA price for a game that was indie devved, from what I hear. And with a AAA price, you expect certain features to be fully fleshed out and developed, which when you get halfway through the game, you're going to realize, like, yeah, this doesn't feel like it's, fully done, or you'll feel like it's been rushed. The story is unoriginal, but it gives an interesting twist on the old-time classic of post-world apocalyptica. The problem is the way they deliver the story via narration. It disconnects you from the impactfulness of the story, so it's kind of hard to get invested into it because you inevitably end up just skipping most of the uninteresting conversation because of how long-winded the conversations are via the narrator slash translator. The class choices didn't seem to have much of an impact on your character progression, aside from five, because I think it's like 5 perks each class has, which don't really amount to much. They might be helpful, but overall they don't amount to much overall. The crafting is also a nice point in the game. So it was probably one of the funnest things for me. Being a crafting nerd myself in any MMO, I really enjoyed the crafting once I got into it. Like, within the first couple of hours, it was kind of confusing on how it worked, and you didn't really find much shit to do into it. But once you get like more hours into it, and it's like you start finding more and more stuff, and then you start to understand how it actually works, it's pretty good. Ultimately, though, at the end, it did feel like I was being pigeonholed into a specific weapon, because there are certain weapons, like me personally, I like the monk archetype classes and unarmed combat and kung fu. So I was really into like the gloves, which is the unarmed combat, but unfortunately, the gloves aren't considered a weapon or something because you're not allowed to modify them. So you're not allowed to carry them with you throughout the game, and it turns into an irrelevant situation. You either want to stick with the combat that you want, even though there are perks to help it go further along. Ultimately, there are items in the game that you get from exploring, which you will see on my back in either video, which is a flaming sword, which is probably the strongest weapon in the game. And I can upgrade the weapon as well. It's fully customizable. So you end up just sticking with one weapon if you want to, for the sake of DPS and progression. As much as I wanted to stick with the unarmed combat because I love it, not being able to modify the gloves in any way, shape, or form, or keep them relevant, immediately turned me off because I was basically just torturing myself at that point with doing less damage. Even with all of the melee and kung fu and unarmed perks that add to the damage, which is a decent, significant boost, they still can't touch the sword. And another big contention for me was the sound profile. I had a lot of people, I didn't realize how bad it was until I had people keep coming into my stream and saying, "What's wrong with the sound? It sounds like it's being muffled by a pillow or something." And I had just gotten new headphones, so I thought it was me the entire time. But it turns out that I was not the only content creator who felt that the sound profile was really bad, because it turns out there are actually there's sound effects that are missing entirely. And the audio does have this muffled feeling overall to it. Then another good point to the game was, if you're really into the loot in typical RPG fashion, there was a lot of loot to be had. If you go around and you're like, "Oh, piece of candy, oh, piece of candy, oh, piece of candy, oh, piece of candy," there is a lot of loot to be had. I wish it did scale as you progress, because I was feeling like, okay, this is starting to this is trash. I can't use it. This is trash. So I was like, okay, fuck it. But overall, the loot is pretty satisfying. When you pick up good one, it's pretty good. So my overall quick overview of the game, it has a lot of potential, but a lot of it feels half done or rushed, or even hit or miss because of how it's executed or how it's not fully fleshed out. Even though the game was delayed for 2 years, as most of you know, it's gotten some really nice points, but it's got a lot of good and a lot of bad to balance it out, which makes it a really good. It makes it a really hard sell point for the current price. So that's my quick overview of the game. If you want a more in-depth discussion on my opinions on why I chose them about the games in greater detail and more things that I point out, check out the full review later on. Thank you. Bye.